is fear, is negativity. For many people, that's what happens. Then we need to change our brain default if we want to be happy, if we want to maximize our potential. So I'm going to be showing you 2 video clips about science of mindfulness meditation. Mindfulness meditation. You can see the name I gave today is my mindful school. My mindful school. ဒီဟာအရင်ပြပြီးတော့နောက်ပြီးတော့ Yale University အဲ့ဟာလေးပြတော့ဒီရှေ့မီခဏလေးပိတ်ပေးပါအောင် please take note of these video clips, okay? They will be our points of discussion.
Meditation is an ancient technique that trains the brain for the power of concentration. It's like a gym workout for your brain. Archaeologists have found meditation to be 5,500 years old, while only 60 years ago, modern scientists began to study the brains of meditators. They discovered that meditation changes the structure of the brain, making it a lot more powerful. Long-term meditators are often able to develop superhuman abilities like the ability to stay calm in pressure situations such as exams and sport, more original and creative ideas, and excellent memory. An experiment showed that meditating monks were able to dry icy wet sheets in a cold temperature by controlling and raising their own body temperature with the power of the mind. To understand how meditation affects us, we must first look at the most recent discoveries about the brain. In the last 10 years, scientists have discovered that every time we think, feel, or learn something new, a neural connection appears in our brain. Those things that we repeat the most, like a habit, make these connections grow stronger and stronger. And over time, the connections that we don't use grow weaker and eventually disappear. This is why habits are automatic and we don't have to think before doing them. For example, because you practice brushing your teeth every day, it seems a lot more effortless than washing your dishes after you have eaten, even though both tasks take about the same amount of time to complete. But if you stop brushing your teeth for a few days, it will also begin to seem like a more difficult task. Some neuroscientists have suggested that we don't choose most of our behavior. Instead, it is programmed by these neural connections in our brain. Think about the tip of an iceberg, which is the smallest part. This represents all the things that we can choose consciously, such as solving a maths problem. The larger part of the iceberg is all about unconscious thoughts and feelings, which cause most of our behavior, like reacting to arguments in the same way again and again, even if afterwards we know it was wrong. This happens because we are not aware that we are controlled by our unconscious emotions. In this unconscious part of our mind, neural connections are strong, so most people don't think they can change how they act and react in situations. This automatic way of acting is what we call personality. But mostly it's just those thoughts, emotions and habits that we have repeated the most growing up and continue to repeat on a daily basis. But this can all be changed. Our intelligence, skills and personality can all be developed through practice. We can literally train our brains to become cleverer, to learn a new talent, or to think differently in situations. So to change ourselves, we need to change our brains by creating new connections and practicing them until they become strong and automatic. This means that stuff that we find hard now will become easier and easier the more we practice it. Think Think back to when you struggled to read. It would take you a while to get through a sentence. And now, it's automatic. You don't need to stop and think about how to read words you already know. You just do it. Amazingly, meditation practice helps us change all of those things by creating new connections in many different parts of the brain, literally making your brain larger in size. So, how do you practice meditation? Well, it's really simple. All you have to do is concentrate on your breathing and allow thoughts and feelings to come and go. With continuous practice, your skills of attention, concentration, and awareness significantly increase. But it's actually quite hard to concentrate on your breath and nothing else. This is because on average, we have about 50,000 thoughts each day. 98% of those thoughts are the same thoughts as we had yesterday, and 80% of those thoughts are negative. Stress, worry, and irritability is a direct result of those thoughts, which are either regrets about the past, which we can no longer change, or worry about the future, which hasn't even yet happened, but we experience stress and worry in the present moment, causing us to behave in very unhelpful ways. The more we worry, the better we become at worrying, which is a negative habit. Overthinking leads to continuous stress, and continuous stress leads to mental health issues such as anxiety and depression. Meditation has been shown to decrease the size of the amygdala, which is the fear center of our brain, and this is where all our negative emotions and thoughts come from. It also decreases the level of stress hormone, cortisol, which overall means that you can deal with stressful situations a lot better. During meditation, you also learn the skill of how to watch your thoughts and emotions without reacting to them. This means that with continuous meditation practice, you can significantly change your behavior and even your personality. This can help you to achieve your personal goals because you're less likely to procrastinate or worry about other people's opinions about you. Scientists are still discovering all the other benefits of meditation, such as its ability to make you more creative, better at learning and remembering things, increasing self-confidence, and making you kinder towards other people around you. Leaders of big companies, athletes, and even pop stars use meditation as a way of training their minds. And the NHS now use meditation to treat a variety of mental health issues. It's even been shown that meditation is more effective than using drugs. Not bad, hey? But saying all you need to do is sit still for 20 minutes, close your eyes, and concentrate.
So it talks about the default brain position that most people have. Each day we have about 50,000 thoughts, and 80% of them are negative. That means the default position is negativity. We call this in psychology, we call this negativity bias. Negativity bias. If you have 10 activities a day, 5 are very good, 4 are neutral, 1 is very bad, at the end of the day, which one you will remember? You remember the bad one. If someone has said something nice about you 10 times, but then that person gives you one very negative comment, that negative comment is likely to get stuck in your head. Our brain is biased towards negativity, but this can be changed. According to the scientists, this can be changed. To change that, what do we have to do? We have to change our emotion. We have to ensure we develop more or repeat more of the positive emotion rather than the negative one. Compassion is positive, kindness is positive, empathy is positive, fear is negative, jealousy is negative, insecurity is negative. Then how do? We need to be mindful of them. So we start by watching our breathing in and out. If we do that, we'll start seeing the emotion pattern. By analyzing the emotion pattern that we have, we can see where our brain works. Is it at the back, the amygdala, the fear center, or is it at the hippocampus area at the front? So you notice I don't need to repeat. We're going to watch another one. This is from Yale University, and this talk was given at the World Economic Forum in Switzerland. This is mindfulness as a tool for happiness.
One of the things that seems to stand in our way of being happy is that shit happens. But this is actually the common denominator for all human experience. The fact is that even if we are the luckiest, most effective people on the planet, life sometimes deviates from our plan. And it's just like the Rolling Stone said, you can't always get what you want. And that can be quite stressful. But of course, you all know that shit happens. What is less well known is that we also all have the power to change our experience of this shit, to train and learn how to have a better attitude about it, and how to suffer less through really anything that might happen to us. Today I'm going to show you evidence that this kind of training can not only make you feel better, it can also change the way that your brain works. And the key practice I'm going to talk about is the practice of mindfulness. Now, mindfulness is rooted in ancient Buddhist traditions that are aimed at the cessation of suffering. It's actually part of a system of practices that includes things like loving kindness, generosity, and compassion, and it's cultivated through the practice of mindfulness meditation. In a secular context, mindfulness has actually been studied for over 30 years, and many scientists, including me, about a two-component process, where the first component is attention that is oriented to this present moment, to whatever is happening to you, so you can engage with your life. The second component is attitude, and it's attitude that's open, it's curious, and it's accepting of this moment exactly as it is. And one classic instruction is to pay attention on purpose and without judgment. Or in the words of the Beatles, you just let it be. Now, why might training like this be useful? Well, one reason is because most of us are incredibly distracted pretty much all the time, and we miss a lot of what's happening to us. One study showed that our minds are actually wandering almost 50% of the time, and during every single activity, even during sex. And what's worse is that mind wandering is actually related to being unhappy. And that suggests that being mindful in itself might make you happier. And it leaves you a lot more time and energy to act wisely and make good decisions. That means that being mindful allows you to respond to the world rather than react to it. And how does mindfulness do that? Well, one way it does it is by altering the brain's defaults. That is a default mode network, and you can think of it as our autopilot. It is a network of regions that's more active when our mind is spontaneously wandering and less active when we're focused on a task. And to test whether mindfulness meditation alters these defaults, we recruited experienced mindfulness meditators, not Buddhist monks, but healthy Western adults who just happened to meditate for many years, kind of like me. And we then scanned their brains using fMRI and compared their brain activity to the brain activity of well-matched controlled who've never meditated. What we found is that experienced meditators actually report a significant lower amount of mind wandering and less activity and connectivity in their default mode network. Does it mean that you all need to practice many, many years to change your defaults? Apparently not. Much less training already starts changing your defaults. In one study, stressed adults were recruited and randomized into one of two conditions. They either did intensive mindfulness training for 3 days or 3 days of a controlled training. The results showed that even after 3 days of intensive mindfulness training, there were already some similar changes to the default mode network that were similar to what we saw with the experienced meditators. In addition, those who meditated also showed a reduction in an inflammation marker that is related to disease risk. In comparison, those who did the control training actually showed an increase in this inflammation marker. In addition, the default mode network actually was responsible for some of the reduction in inflammation. This suggests that mindfulness training changes your brain, it changes your emotional experience, and it changes your body in a way that makes you more resilient to stress and disease. And there's even more good news here. You might start noticing some of the benefits of mindfulness meditation as soon as the first time that you try. We tested this in a few recent studies. We recruited individuals who've never meditated, and we randomized them to either meditate for 10 minutes for the first time or do a control activity for 10 minutes. We then tested their performance on a task that required both accuracy and speed. What we found is that those individuals who meditated for the first time, overall, were faster or more accurate than those who didn't meditate. And we also saw changes in brain activity that suggested that their brains were more attuned to the task, allowing them to perform better. What this means is that in the time that it might take you to just briefly check your email, you might try to meditate for 10 minutes and you might have an improvement in your cognitive performance. So in conclusion, I invite you to ask yourself, do I want to be more focused? Do I want to be more present? Do I want to have more time and energy to act wisely and make good decisions? If you answered yes to any of these questions, you might want to try mindfulness meditation. Now, mindfulness is not for everyone and it's not a panacea, but we know that it can fundamentally alter your brain's defaults. We know that it can reduce your stress and make you more focused. And importantly, it can allow you to live in this moment, accepting it exactly as it is, maybe even loving it exactly as it is, even if shit happens. Thank you very much.
Okay, the way to alter your brain default. The brain default for many people is autopilot. We don't know what's going on in our mind. 50,000 thoughts, the earlier video clip said, run through our mind every day. 98% of them are repetitive, the same as yesterday. What to eat, what to play, what to wear, that sort of thing. Then 80% of them are negative bias. So if we are to achieve our potential and be happy, we really need to change this default position. The way to do that using mindfulness is this: attention and attitude. Attention, to train attention. Meditation is the art of attention. The art of attention. And then attitude. Attitude is about acceptance. Instead of what Charles Darwin said, fight or flight. You're not fighting with your own thought. If you fight, you will develop a habit that will become your subconscious habit. That will become your brain default. Fighting will become. You're fighting with yourself, meaning you always feel agitated with yourself all the time. So we just need to accept what's going on without being judgmental. Only then we can improve it. We have more energy to improve because we are not spending our energy with agitation, with irritation, denying, rejecting. So attention is paying attention to the experience at the present moment. So this is about the present moment. Attitude is about acceptance. Accepting things at the present moment. This is what she says, attention and attitude. I think it's time to actually do the practice. We do meditation. The two video clips, the first one recommends 20 minutes, the second one recommends 10 minutes. So which one you choose? 3 minutes is for babies. These are for the grown up. 5 minutes. 5 minutes you wouldn't change your brain. Your brain will still be autopilot. We try 5 minutes first. Okay, 5 minutes first, and we see how it goes. If it feels good, maybe we strengthen this muscle, this gym. You know, it says this like a gym workout. Okay, we're going to do this breathing exercise to develop the art of attention, to increase our attention capacity. When you breathe in, you count 1 to 7, okay? Because this is grade 9, 10. You count 1 to 7. And then you hold your breath, you count 1 to 7 again. And then when you breathe out, you count 1 to 7 again. Although it's just 5 minutes, you should expect that your mind will be wandering, meaning autopilot will be taking over from time to time. If that happens, what you do is you acknowledge the wandering mind, acknowledge the auto mind, acknowledge that, and then come back to breathing. Last year, I think I gave you a metaphor here, how the mind works. It's like a spider forming its web, and then stay right in the middle, quiet and alert. That there will be small insects fallen on the web. What the spider will do is, the spider will go and eat it, and then come back to the middle straight away. Stay there, quiet and alert. If another small insect falls on the web, there will be vibration again. Then the spider will be alerted. Straight away it will go and eat it. Then return to the middle. So this way of meditation, I describe it as 3R. Number 1 is register. Register, this is to acknowledge. Acknowledge. Number 2 is release. Number 3 is return. What do you register? What do you acknowledge? You acknowledge your thought. You acknowledge your emotion. If your thought is automatic thought, acknowledge, okay, this is automatic thought. This is automatic thought. This is automatic thought. You acknowledge it 3 times, 4 times, and then you return to the breath. You release that auto thought, and then you return to the breath. Register, release, and return. Okay. If you feel restless, then you need to acknowledge that restlessness. Otherwise, you will get carried away by that restlessness. This is restlessness. This is restlessness. This is restlessness. This is how it feels. Okay, it feels like this. Restlessness feels like this. You know, you just feel that restlessness mindfully, acknowledging it. Then return to breathing. Okay, we can start now. Keep your body straight, your head straight, look ahead, and focus all your energy on observing, breathing in and out. Now take a deeper and slower breathing than usual. Deeper and slower breathing than usual. Count 1 to 7 for the in-breath. 1 to 7, holding the breath. 1 to 7, breathing out. Okay, 5 minutes now. How do you feel after 5 minutes of meditation? How do you feel? Relax. What about you?
Oxygen deprived.
Oxygen deprived. That's maybe you didn't put effort into breathing.
My nose is blocked.
Your nose is wrong, or you should have done through your mouth. That's okay. What about you?
Calm.
Calm.
Relax.
Calm, yes, yeah. When you are calm, your prefrontal brain works better. Okay. You were here earlier in this earlier session. Now you just come. How did you feel with 5 minutes meditation?
Calm?
Calm. Have you ever done this before?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. What about you? How did you feel? And you? How did you feel about 5 minutes meditation? Huh? Light. Okay. What about you?
Relaxed.
Okay, and you?
Relaxed.
Relax. Huh?
Energized.
Energize. Okay. What about you girls? Refresh. And relax. At ease. Okay. What about you?
Kind of peaceful.
Kind of peaceful.
A little restless.
Restless. If you know restless, if you discover, okay, the mind is being restless now, you just bring attention, acknowledge that. Don't try to ignore that. Don't suppress that. Just acknowledge it, okay, this is restlessness. Then restlessness will kind of subside. It will get weaker. Mindfulness. What about
I felt more clear about
Thought.
what I wanted to do.
Yeah, clarity of mind. What about you? Restless. Okay. That's very good that you discover. Within 5 minutes you get to know your mind. What about you? Focus. Calm. Clear. Calm. Okay. I should tell you what the Buddha reminded everyone. This one is not something that your parents can give you as an inherent. No, your teacher is something that we have to earn it ourselves. Mindfulness is so in Buddhism, the heart of the Buddhist practice is not prayer. It's not prayer. We praying to pray, to ask for something. That's not what the Buddha taught. What the Buddha taught is that make your own effort, and you will get what you want. More importantly, first develop our mind. Okay. With this, I'd like to take you to another topic, part of mindfulness that we call this compassion. Compassion. I show you compassion, 40 seconds of compassion can save a life. This is from a professor who is who works in the intensive unit in ICU in hospital for about 20 years, and he had a problem of burnout. He felt exhausted, and he also saw many of his colleagues, doctors and nurses, healthcare providers, feeling exhausted. When you feel exhausted, what do? People usually disconnect. They disconnect with the patient, with their colleagues, with each other. They become disconnected. Meaning they don't have empathy towards each other. You don't have consideration for other people anymore. You become more self-centered. That's when we don't deal with our stress properly, and it becomes a burnout. So this professor, he asked a question. People talk about compassion. Does compassion matter? And as a scientist, he reviewed the abstracts in the Library of University of Medicine in America. So he reviewed the abstract, over 1,000 abstract, and over 200 scientific papers on compassion. Scientific paper on compassion. You can see this is compassion science. This is an Oxford handbook written by scientists in compassion science. It's a new research area. According to these research findings, if you have compassion, you have more resilience. You have already seen earlier, if you're mindful, if you have mindfulness, the inflammation marker, that's, if you study biology, the DNA, the cell, we already have the cell which can lead to diseases, those inflammation markers. If those inflammation markers, if they're active, then we catch diseases. But if those inflammation markers, if they're not active, instead if resilience is strong, if our immunity is strong, then we stay healthy. We stay healthy. So he's going to be talking about compassion from scientific point of view, what is good for, how is good for our brain, our health, like that. Okay, we have to look at this.
In my job, I meet people on the worst day of their life. I'm an intensivist, a physician who specializes in intensive care medicine. If you become my patient, it's because you need life-sustaining therapies in the ICU. Lately, I've been rethinking how I care for people. Let me tell you why. On February 27, 2007, on a snowy stretch of highway outside of Uppsala, Sweden, two buses collided head-on. This is what was left of one of the buses. 6 people died, but miraculously, 56 people were saved. 5 years later, researchers asked the question, what do survivors remember? They interviewed every survivor, and using a rigorous qualitative research methodology, they found 2 common themes in the data. The first was expected, the physical pain that they felt at the moment of impact. But the other theme? A lack of compassion from the caregivers at all the hospitals. That's what they remembered 5 years later. These data have begun to open my eyes to a stark reality. In healthcare, we are in the midst of a compassion crisis. Scientists define compassion as an emotional response to another's pain or suffering involving an authentic desire to help. It's different from sympathy or empathy, which are the feeling and understanding components, in that compassion also involves taking action. So here are the data. Research from Harvard University found that nearly 50% of Americans believe that our healthcare system and our providers are not compassionate. 2/3 of patients have had a meaningful healthcare experience with a lack of compassion. Rigorous research show that 70% of opportunities for compassion are missed by physicians, and compassion comprises less than 1% of all communications by physicians to patients. These data are compounded by an epidemic of burnout in healthcare providers. Burnout is characterized by depersonalization, which is an inability to make a personal connection. And in the era of electronic medical records, rigorous research shows that healthcare providers spend more time looking into computer screens than looking patients in the eyes. Based on all of these data, I conclude we have a compassion crisis indeed. But here's the big question. Does it matter? Does compassion really matter? Now you may say, of course compassion matters. We have a moral imperative. It's part of the art of medicine. And of course I agree. But is compassion just in the art of medicine? Or are there also evidence-based effects belonging in the science of medicine? And what is the evidence? In addition to being an intensivist, I'm also a physician scientist. In other words, I'm a research nerd. I like data, and my hypothesis was that compassion matters for patients, for patient care, and for those who care for patients. So I went to the biomedical literature, and I used a methodology called systematic review. So over 2 years through the National Library of Medicine, I reviewed more than 1,000 scientific abstracts, more than 200 research studies in total. And today I share with you what I found. The effects of compassion on patients, on patient care, and specifically the cost of care, and on those who care for patients, our healthcare providers. There are more than 20 distinct mechanisms of action by which compassion can have beneficial effects on patients. Let's go to the data. Let's start with the practical. If you have compassion for patients, you may be more likely to be meticulous about their care, or have higher quality standards, and lower likelihood of making a major medical error. But there are also physiological effects. Compassion can buffer stress-mediated disease. Compassion can also modulate a patient's experience of pain. There are neuroendocrine effects. So in patients with diabetes, research shows that high physician compassion is associated with an 80% higher odds of optimal blood sugar control and 40% lower odds of acute metabolic complications. There are also immune system effects. So in a University of Wisconsin study in patients with a common cold, high physician compassion as rated by patients was associated with enhanced immune response, shorter duration of symptoms, and lower severity of symptoms. And importantly, compassion can impact patient self-care. If you care deeply about patients, and they know that, they may be more likely to take their medicine. In a Johns Hopkins study of 1,700 patients with HIV, researchers asked patients, does your physician know you as a person? Knowing the patient as a person was associated with 33% higher odds of adherence to therapy and 20% higher odds of having no detectable virus in the blood. Compassion has also been associated with lower healthcare costs, which are a major factor in the health of our economy. In primary care, for example, research from the University of Rochester and UC Davis have shown that compassionate, patient-centered care is associated with lower discretionary resource utilization. So fewer diagnostic tests, fewer referrals to specialists, fewer unnecessary hospitalizations, and lower total healthcare charges. So here's the bottom line. If healthcare providers actually spend more time talking to patients, maybe we don't need so many tests and referrals. But what about time? We've all heard the expression, time is money, but time is also a vital factor in the efficiency and the economics of healthcare. So here's a staggering number, 56. Research from Harvard University shows that 56% of physicians believe they do not have time for compassion. This is in the context of a classic study from Princeton University on helping behaviors, which found that it wasn't the intrinsic belief of the importance of helping by the potential helper. It was whether or not the potential helper believed they had enough time to help. So how long does it actually take for a meaningful expression of compassion? To address this, researchers from Johns Hopkins University did a randomized controlled trial in patients with cancer who were having a consultation with the oncologist. And in this randomized trial, the primary outcome measure was anxiety. And if you have cancer, it's a pretty important outcome measure. So they found that patients randomized to a compassion intervention from the oncologist had less anxiety than usual care. So what was the compassion intervention? I could describe it for you, but instead I'm just going to read it to you. From the oncologist at the beginning of the consultation. I know this is a tough experience to go through, and I want you to know that I am here with you. Some of the things that I say to you today may be difficult to understand, so I want you to feel comfortable in stopping me. If something I say is confusing or doesn't make sense, we are here together and we will go through this together. And at the end of the consultation, the oncologist said, I know this is a tough time for you, and I want to emphasize again that we are in this together. I will be with you each step along the way. So how long did that take? They timed it 40 seconds. So this randomized trial shows that all you need is 40 seconds of compassion to make a meaningful difference. Importantly, 40 seconds of compassion can be a powerful therapy for the giver too. And this is important because these data are not just applicable to healthcare workers, but to everyone here today. Science shows that compassion for others can have a direct, positive effect on your own well-being. Neuroscience studies show that compassion for others can trigger reward pathways in the brain and positive emotion that can buffer or even counteract the activation of stress pathways and negative emotion. So, in effect, compassion for others can make you forget your own worries, at least temporarily. So now this is where the science meets the personal. A couple of years ago, after nearly 20 years of working in the ICU and meeting people on the worst day of their life, I came to a stark realization. I had almost every symptom of burnout. And let me assure you, that's not a good place to be. It can be a dark place. Currently, the recommended prescription for burnout is what I call escapism. Get away, detach, pull back, go on some nature hikes or whatever. But I was not buying it because I believed that the antidote to burnout had to be at the point of care. In personal connection, human connection, not an escape. So what was I supposed to do? Well, I did the only thing I knew how to do. I took the research nerd approach. And armed with the data that 40 seconds of compassion can be a powerful therapy for the giver too, I decided to do an experiment on myself. I was the only research subject in this experiment. I was the N of one. So I tested the hypothesis that my 40 seconds of compassion would transform my experience. I connected more, not less. Cared more, not less. Leaned in rather than pulling back. And that was when the fog of burnout began to lift. My 40 seconds of compassion changed everything for me. Now you might be thinking, I'm speaking on the power of compassion. I must be the most compassionate doctor. But the truth, if if I'm being honest, is that I'm still a work in progress. I'm working hard at compassion every day, but I see it now. And thankfully, science shows that change can happen. I used to think that people were either wired for compassion or they were not. But the preponderance of evidence in the scientific literature, both in healthcare workers and the general population, shows quite clearly that compassionate behaviors can, in fact, be learned. And that is good news indeed. So now it's time to answer the big question that I posed to you at the beginning. Does compassion matter? My systematic review of the literature now complete. 1,000 scientific abstracts, 200 research manuscripts, and one life-changing N of 1 experiment behind me. I now conclude with confidence. Compassion matters. For patients, for patient care, and for those who care for patients. Compassionate care belongs in the domain of evidence-based medicine. I no longer believe in this paradigm behind me, this historical paradigm. I now believe in this one. Because I found that there is science in the art of medicine. And the science is strong. I like to call this field compassionomics. It's the convergence of the science and the art of medicine. I will close just by acknowledging that you don't have to be a healthcare worker to feel burned out. And if you do, I suggest that you test the compassion hypothesis for yourself. Do your N of 1 experiment. Look and see those around you in need of compassion and give them your 40 seconds of compassion. See how it transforms your experience. But don't do it because I say so. Do it because science says so. 40 seconds of compassion can change everything for a patient. It changed everything for me. It can change everything for you too. And that is the power of 40 seconds. Thank you.
We talk about compassion. If you remember the life of the Buddha, Prince Siddhartha, before he left home to become a monk, he saw 4 signs, 4 people to see. He saw a sickly person, an old person, and a dead person. That all of us, everyone living, we have to go through. And the 4th one he saw was a holy man, monk. Now, usually when people see that kind of unpleasant things, they become depressed. They get depressed. They don't want to talk about that. They rather ignore it. If we talk about problem in the school, at home, in the country, in the world, sometimes it becomes too much and we just switch off. We don't really want to engage with those problems. If we do so, that's because we don't have compassion, or our compassion is not strong enough. Prince Siddhartha, who would become Buddha, when he saw those problems of life, those problems motivated him to work for the people. So his motivation came from problems. That's a very important one. We will face problem. We face problem in our life all the time. If problems depress us, okay, distress us. That's because we don't have enough compassion. So compassion acts as a stress buffer. So this, like Professor Stephen Krasek and this professor said, if we have compassion, we wouldn't feel that stressed out. If you have time, this book is easily available at the Bangkok airport. Siddhartha's Brain. It talks about what I have just told you, how Prince Siddhartha's brain would work, especially with compassion and mindfulness. So, before we do one exercise which I'm very keen to do with you, I'd like to introduce you to mindfulness, compassion meditation for about 5 minutes. Compassion meditation is to think about your own stress, your own problem, your own difficulties. Now, this time, when we think about them, we do so with conscious mind, with mindfulness. With conscious mind, with mindfulness, this is different from subconscious mind that we saw in the first video clip. Not using subconscious mind, but using conscious and conscious mind mindfulness to think about our stress, our difficulty. You can think about the source of your stress. Is it exam? Is it socializing in the school, in the community? Or is it your relationship with your parents, with your friends, with the, is it between families? You can think about them. And then embrace those difficulties with compassion. This is not about running away from them. The Buddha's way of solving problem is never about running away, but it's about confronting them, trying to understand problem and solve them. So I want you to think about your stress, your difficulty, and embrace them with compassion. How do we do compassion? Compassion is an attitude. It's a positive emotion. You develop an attitude of a mother who has only one child. She would give total attention to her child. That total attention is very important. So give total attention to yourself, to your own problem. Unless you do so, you won't have self-compassion. Self-compassion. Just by ignoring your own problem doesn't go away. And you're not well prepared to actually face them and solve them. Instead, you're accumulating more and more stress, more and more negative habits. So that's the first one. Revisit your own anger, your own frustration, and then embrace them with compassion. This is about soothing them, it's about comforting yourself. The second one is think about your loved ones, members of your family, your best friends. Think about their stress and their pain, their difficulties. Recognize their difficulties. Okay. Only if we recognize them, that we will grow. We will have compassion. Recognize them and develop empathy towards them. So number one is yourself. Number two is your family members. Number three, maybe one person from your class, your classmate, or maybe one of your teachers in the school, trying to think about their anxiety, their stress, their difficulty, and develop compassion for them, embrace them with compassion. We will be doing this for 5 minutes. Okay. After that, I want to do a quick exercise on intellectual and EQ, on IQ, EQ combination. So now we do 5 minutes compassion meditation. Breathe in and out, slow and gentle. This is as much empathy development. We have 3 groups. First is yourself, second is your family members, trying to relate to them one by one, relate to their problem, their stress. The third one is a classmate or one of your teachers. Okay, it's 5 minutes now. I hope it makes you calmer. Now I want to do a group discussion exercise based on compassion. Based on compassion, I want to group you by your interest. Anyone interested in IT? Think about uni, what you're going to do. Anything with IT? Only one. IT, only one IT. And anyone interested in, okay, two. Anyone interested in medicine? In engineering? Okay, engineering, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, engineering. In pure sciences, like chemistry, physics, biology. Okay. In business studies, business study 2. Okay, business study. In law and politics, law. Okay. I want to group you and you can discuss for about maybe 10-15 minutes how you're going to relate to what you're going to study to help solve the problem that this country has. Look at here, three things that we have in the ladder of compassion. The lowest one is sympathy, then empathy, and then compassion. Sympathy is about understanding of problem of other people. Empathy is about feeling emotionally about their pain. In English, we say, I'm moved by his problem. When you are moved, that means your heart is shaken by other people's pain. But when empathy is accompanied by the desire to help, to help solve other people's problems, then that becomes compassion. In this video clip, compassion is defined by scientists as an emotional response to suffering with an authentic desire to help. So you really need to think about something, how to solve the problem of this country. If you're going to study IT, first you need to find out problem of this country because we don't have enough computer skills. Anything about computer, the machine, the technology, everything, we get from other countries because we can't develop here. Maybe people can write software, can write app, that sort of thing. But basically we rely on other people. It's the same engineering, if you compare with other countries, we still lag behind, so much behind. Civil engineering, architecture, petrol, mechanical, anything, fashion and design, we still lag behind. If you use those programs to motivate you to work harder, then in your study, in your school, you will have less stress and you will have all the motivation. So can I group people, you can come out and sit somewhere. IT people, can you come here and discuss IT? Engineering, can you go to that corner, engineering? To that corner to discuss how engineering can help, If you can take your book with you, to discuss and make some points, like bullet points. Pardon?
Only engineering IT.
No, IT is here. The other branches of engineering is the other side, the other corner. And business study, can you maybe you come here, business study? Business study, maybe you can go up there. Go up there, you have more time to yourself. Business, yeah, go up there. Business study. Business study. And what about you? Business is up there. Business up here. Okay, wow, business is a big group. Come this way, come this way.
So meaning that's mean the business alone. Yeah.
Business group. ဒီဟာလေဒီ project ကဟိုဘက်ရွှေ့ပေးပါ project သိမ်းလိုက်ပါ project သိမ်းလိုက်ပါ business people, if too many of you, I'm going to divide you into two groups because the discussion wouldn't be efficient. Can I divide you into
Business group.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You also business. 12. 12. No, I want to make you divide into two groups. One group come here, maybe how many of you? 6 of you, and bring a chair here. Bring a chair and face them. And Dada, can you move a little bit that side? You group. A circle. One more here, please. One more this. 3, 6. Okay, 6 of you. And you? Sciences. Maybe you can sit somewhere here. It's okay. It's okay. Okay, here is okay. Sciences? No, business. Oh, here. Okay. Okay, please listen to me once again for instruction. First, okay. What?
It's one left. I'm interested in law, politics.
Okay. You can think about that yourself. Okay, you don't.
How about just sit here?
Okay, you can sit. Yeah, you join that. Instruction. Number 1, trying to discuss problem of this country from the point of view of the subject you're interested. From business point of view, from IT point of view, engineering point of view, like that. And then trying to find solution. Discuss solution. That's all. Practical solution. I think your group is too big. 8. I'd like to divide you into 2 groups.
2 groups.
Yeah, 4. Yeah. 4 come here. Too many of you. Hello. If you don't mind moving this a little bit so that those people have more space. Thank you. And if one of you can take note of your discussion, problem and then solution. Come this a little bit. Okay. Okay, you start brainstorming.
I slept.
Yours is there, that's fine.
I think it's over here. I didn't do anything because I did this last outfit.
Khana flip chart ပဲရောက်သွားလို့ဟောစက်ကူပဲလိုချင်တယ်စက်ကူဟိုတို့ပေးလိုက်ပါစက်ကူတို့ရေးချင်းရေးလို့ရစက်ကူပဲယူအလွတ်တွေပဲယူခဲ့ပါစက်ကူအလွတ်
It's the 90%.
Okay. You can have one if you want to do like project bullet point. Do you want to have one of these? One of these. ဟိုတင်လေးတွေပေးပါအောင်လား soft hand လေးတွေပေးပါအောင်အလွတ်ပဲပေးနော်အလွတ်ပဲပေး discussion and then like you do presentations like presentation in the school. One more.
Go away. Go away.
What is it? I fell asleep. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And some people only watch I was the only one who actually fell asleep.
စာရရှိသေးလားအမေတွေကိုတရက်လောက်ပေးမှနေတယ်နှစ်ရက်လားIT နော် IT you can think about the problem of this country is facing because we don't have good IT knowledge. Whatever. A meeting, let's have to brainstorm about that meeting.
Korea looking at us disgusted.
And if you a meeting, you la.
Poverty.
Talking about IT.
I would think
Oh yeah. Total bizarre adventure. When I want to play it right now. Oh yo, that Wi-Fi Roblox stuff is fun to me.
I've played with that. I only played that once.
Wait, you started it?
You started. You make me start. Sure, you just consoles.
Oh, song. Oh, right. Song is like you two time I play. Oh, your season's not working out.
Why? Do something else than him. Oh, you can check my wins.
I got one man win with a mini gun. I feel like that's my day out.
That's fun when I play with him.
He still got a loop. I have to do it. This is why I got used to using a P90. Because he never used a P90. That's the only weapon he ever used. That's why I had to adjust my face on with a P90. But now I'm like,
It's like a minigun.
it's faster plus.
Minigun's like.
I remember Chinese started playing with the trackpad. I won the game. Just saw it.
He plays in class.
This kid in China.
I don't know lah. Wow, what is my drawing?
It's a robot character.
I don't know. It looks like a penis.
Yeah, I meant in YouTube not working. Wi-Fi.
YouTube, I'll keep down.
IT. Addiction.
Oh, not good YouTube
Games
recommendation.
addiction. Addiction.
That's not the IT problem.
Oh, my keyboard, my space bar still hasn't been attached to my laptop yet. I still need that to be fixed.
Notifications. When you need alarm, your mom in the phone line.
Crappy devices. You must think I have that much phone.
I've been waiting for so long just for that one device.
Also, they have like 7 phones. And like 7 phones. You.
I get a new phone and I have I think so, like 4 cameras. What bad devices are there?
They sell like crappy phones and rip-off. Look at China, it's like a rip-off of iPhone, Samsung. It's like fake iPhones in China. Wait, the right thing are fake devices.
Fake devices?
Yeah, fake devices.
Coronavirus.
There might be fake devices.
Oh,
Not
China
fake.
has the coronavirus.
Not fake devices. I would say it's like a rip-off device. Like rip-offs.
Fake iPhone.
Dark web.
So Rainey's actually my play shop.
When we talk about solution, please consider your role. Consider your role. What and how you want to be part of that solution.
Sniper likes to come in and he was like here a long time. He definitely came. Like they knew him on piano. He was playing with us in what was it? So how much you the hell is that? Unless your iPhone.
อันนี้เพียง
Your iPhone I get that, but
အမေတွေတစ်ခုလို့ဖို့ကောင်းတယ်ဒီမှာသူတို့လုံနေပြီသူတို့ပြဿနာအကြောင်းစဉ်းစားခိုင်းတယ်လေပြင်အဲ့ပြဿနာရဲ့အဖြေမှဆန်းဒီတိုင်းပြည်ရဲ့ပြဿနာကိုစဉ်းစားခိုင်းတယ်သူတို့စိတ်ဝင်စားတဲ့ပညာရဲ့ရှုထောင့်နေပြီးတော့ပြီးရင်အဲ့ပြဿနာဘယ်လိုဖြေရှင်းမှာတော့အဲ့ဒါလေးစဉ်းစားခိုင်းတယ်ဒါကိုကရုဏာလို့ခေါ်တယ်ကရုဏာ exercise သူတို့ကိုလူကြီးလို့သဘောထားပြီးတော့လုပ်ခိုင်းတယ်
It got banned because they were research spawner.
I got banned.
ဟုတ်ပဲဒီပေါ်က business လေဟိုက science ဒါ IT ဟိုဘက်ကဘာလဲမသိဘူး engineer Yeah.
I have no idea. I have no idea. That's why I told you.
trying to find some solution. First you analyze the problem and then you think about the solution.
What is that?
That's very good. This is very good foundation already.
Move to the U.S.
Because he wants to get possessed and be Satan. You want to go? Damn, you're now a big man. Give me the holy food.
Are you thinking about solution? Okay. And think about your role also. Your own role. Yeah, your role. Individual role.
Other things like industrialization in factories. Yeah, like that. But not informally. That way that could create a lot more jobs.
How you doing? What problems you're discussing?
I think it's a lack in research technologies, or more like it's not widely available for everybody.
And then think, you should think about solution also.
Stop doing that.
ITV your business.
Yeah, nobody pays attention. Yeah, that's why they bombard before.
You're not joining then?
Fine. Fine.
Hello, we have 3 minutes. 3 more minutes. 3 more minutes. Three more minutes. Okay, 3 more minutes. We have 3 more minutes.
Actually, before that was my school account. Oh yeah, no, those you logged into my account with that. Yeah, but was that before you logged in? But that is because of all this. Yeah. We're already in a case where ICJ would have been genocide. Why? Why did you invite me?
ကိုယ်ပိုင်ကြောင်းနဲ့ထိုင်နေဘုံကဒီ exercise လုပ်တယ်ဒီနေ့ခုံလုပ်တယ်
ကောင်းရဖို့ရပါစေချင်
အထွေးဖြောင်းပါအောင်ပဲတွေးတတ်တဲ့လူအများကြီးတွေးတာ
မှန်ပါဗျာ
မတရားထိုင်နေဖြစ်ဒီစတိုရီယာတွေပြောတယ်ဗီဒီယိုကလစ်တွေပြတယ်
တင်ပါဗျာတင်ပါ
ဟိုတနိုင်ငံလုံးတိုင်းမှာတော့
တင်ပါဘုဘတော်တရားတော့လူတွေရလူကြီးအခုလည်းမေးတောက်ဆိုပါတယ်နောက်နေ့လည်းခေါ်ပါတော့ခေါ်ပါမယ်ဘုဘကြီးဘုလက်ခိုင်တပည့်တော့နေတိုင်းပါပဲပြောတော့ညာ
Only 1 more minute. Only 1 more minute.
So, but there's someone that did actually hack it. Oh yeah, I'll show you someone actually got cheated. I don't know. Just realized
bomb in my hand.
你姐去现场了，你把他干嘛的？
No. Don't put this on Charlie. I don't want you to say this in my hand. I don't want you to say this right in front of me like, what up, boy? I'm not gonna go. So what? We have like
maybe just Bloody Mary and scratch and
if you want to see 6 numbers,
no, just kill Christianity.
Okay, the time is up. Time is up. Time's up. Okay, please go back to your place. Please go back to your place. I think we have some presentation, if you don't mind. We have some presentation.
No, Charlie for you. Stop with the Charlie. That's all
Your group, do you want to present first?
No.
Just for like a second.
We want to give other people a chance.
Okay.
Let's just do it.
don't be greedy, man.
No, I don't want to. Let's just do it.
The other business group, would you mind presenting first? Would you mind presenting your ideas? Talking about problems and solutions. Okay. Where is your? Okay, you're second. You can wait there. Yeah, you can wait there. Go and sit there. Go and sit.
And we are second.
Oh, yeah, second. They go first. They go first. Is that the one? Is this one? Please come and do presentation.
Bad wife.
Come here. You can come to the stage if you like. Come here. No, here. This group, they are the second. This one first.
Hey, come on. I'm antisocial.
No. Here. Two.
I started when I said that's okay.
This is called swiping.
Hello.
Don't think that's a good idea.
Why me? Okay, I'll hold this and I'll speak.
I'll hold it and you speak.
So we came up with different ideas of the problem we're having with our economy, and we'll just read them out.
Poverty.
Currency exchange rate.
We're very dependent on every single country we see.
Mm-hmm.
We need more foreign aid.
Education, even though it's not a big problem anymore.
The need to improve productivity.
What does that say?
I do see that our resources are not distributed or used wisely, so I expect depletion here. And we do have lack of jobs.
Mm.
And it might not be very apparent, but we actually have a problem with this. Plus, this is a very obvious one in this country, healthcare, practicing good hygiene, and taxation. Even though we have come up with policies. I think our country is not yet very strict on this. For example, in restaurants, you might see that they don't give receipts or vouchers, so that they will have to include the tax fees. And only when the government receives enough taxation, they will be able to use that money in other areas like education. And we have more imports coming into our country rather than exports going out. And these are the main problems of that's affecting our country's economy. And that one solution we came up with is that we should really strengthen our laws and policies, because that's what most of the citizens want here. And I think this is the first step that we should take towards these changes we hope to make later.
Okay.
And they live happily ever after.
Okay, thank you. Second group, telephone, microphone, thank you.
It was right there.
So hello everyone. So we came up with some ideas and contributed on some facts that we think that can improve the business here. So the first one is like public transportation. So like the public transportation is like so dirty and like there's many litter. So like we can improve it by like for our road we don't litter and like have some volunteers to like pick up the trash and paying more fines, like pay taxes to for the people who litter, right? Let them pay more taxes and pay a fine.
For the next one, we have child labor. Many families in Myanmar use child labor as maids or as in their house. I don't think that should happen, since the children they should go to school and learn and have the same opportunities as us. So that should be reformed, and the law should restrict children from working, and they should make a law that if you're 18, you can only work if you're 18, if you're younger.
And so for this to happen, the solution is the government needs to reform, as most of the government is stealing from us because we paid the tax, and the government is stealing our money, which could be used to pave roads. If you see a pothole like when you're coming or going out, that's because the government isn't using our money like how it's supposed to be used.
I think that the government should improve the infrastructure of our country so that by demolishing the buildings, the old buildings that are not in use anymore, so that the big businesses, like the business owner and entrepreneurs, could be encouraged to start up new businesses, which will create more jobs for overall our country. It will increase the living standards of a person, and will consumer spending will increase as well. So overall, we could increase our GDP.
And the next one is education system. So like if the education system is good, then like the future kids will be like good and they won't throw trash and like make this better. And D.Phil rated. Oh my god. Also deforestation. We need to use 3R, like reduce, reuse, and recycle, and also use less paper and more technology. So like school should like do like less exam and like less use technology, so we can like save the tree.
So we think that they should use more technology and not the paper because the paper comes from the trees. And in order to do that, instead of printing out papers and giving it to the students, they can just email it to them. Thank you. I hope you agree with
It's your group this time, yeah. You, you want to ask them? You want to add? Just 1 second, 1 second. Let them.
So hi guys, we're the engineering group, and we named some of the problems that we think there's. We named some of the problems that there are in Yangon, kind of related with engineering. So bad safety procedures, old technology, lack of compassion, terrible roads, and bad management. For bad safety procedures, we mean things like fire hazards and hazards with buildings and roads, and the solution to that is proper education throughout citizens, perfect public service announcement, PSAs, and more safety signs that can help citizens go throughout Yangon with being comfortable that they are safe.
Our family, our country usually rely on old technology. By old technology, it means old-fashioned technology. We don't have new skills and new services. And when we compare to other developing countries, our development rate is so slow, slower than other developing countries. And when we try to compare to a neighboring country like Bangkok, and then their style and the technology is totally different.
By lack of compassion, we need more honest workers because there might be workers who drive and just use cheap materials for their buildings, and they need to be more mindful of their surroundings.
For the terrible roads, these days, as you can see, when you're driving to somewhere you want to be, you can feel the bumps on the road and those traffics. All of these things, if people don't be mindful of others and don't fix the roads, it's difficult for other people, and it's much more harder for everyday life, and it is also very necessary to fix these things.
Last thing is bad management. The solution is they can plan better, plan ahead and manage, discuss each other and plan ahead for the future.
Thank you. Your group, stop eating and come and talk.
I didn't eat lunch yet.
Okay, I know.
I'm not eating.
Come on, your group.
No, I'm not with
The microphone is there.
Where's the other one? Where's the other one? Huh? Well, I got 4 people. I know. Why did the other guy know?
We're with Chin Chin and that little other.
Okay, stop.
Here, no?
We're the other group.
Okay, please go ahead.
We're the IT group.
Is it the other way around? Does it have to be like this? Which way? I don't know. Sorry.
No, we just diagrammed it everywhere.
Okay.
One of the very bad IT problems in Myanmar is that we are like 50 years behind. It's true, come on.
Yeah, that's true.
And boomers are still using the iPhone 4.
So Daniel.
I don't know.
I hold it for you. Come on.
Health problems and addiction. Scammers in India. Nigerian hackers. And all fixing this, just move to the US and you'll be fine, but
another issue in the Burmese IT infrastructure is like there's lots of malware going around in this country, as in there's lots of people trying to scam other people, and the solution to this is to get like antivirus software or try to fix.
and sometimes when you're ordering technology from online, it's very dangerous to have it like shipped here because it can get damaged. And a way to do that, just go to the store and buy it. Who wrote that? People in Myanmar, like when they explain technology, they have lack of knowledge. And just fixing this, just train them more, I guess. Okay, that's it. I don't speak.
Okay, thank you.
Wow. Someone say everything. No Charlie, no possession. At least we have him here. No ASMR, right? No ASMR.
This is commentary.
The Wi-Fi is bad in Myanmar, and people get too distracted on devices, even though they need it for work. And then there are fake devices such as Realme and Redmi. It's like a copy off, rip off. Let's go.
The Dell's very bad. As you can see, MacBook is way better. Games are very laggy because of our very bad internet.
Computers have viruses.
Why do you like fix the Wi-Fi?
Solution.
I don't know, the solution is fix the Wi-Fi.
How can you fix Wi-Fi? You don't take over, I'm choking on you. Back here.
He got hacked from a guy in China.
I almost got hacked by a guy in Russia. Oh yeah, I remember Nigeria.
Okay, that's it.
Okay. One last one, yeah. Not whole.
Russia, Nigeria, China. I also got Malaysia.
Okay, so we are focusing on the pure sciences. So our main problem is that our country does not have enough funding for us to carry out research. And I believe that research is for the development of our own country. As you can see, this is the smallest group, and most people want jobs that makes money, like business and IT. And then to fill the Asian stereotype, which is engineering and doctor, but nobody really focuses on the research part. Okay, so yeah, she would like to talk about some of the problems that we face.
In Myanmar, we don't have enough laboratory equipment such as, and also labs, and our government do not provide enough money for research and development. And there are also not enough trained professionals to operate.
Right, so basically, right, the solution for some of the problem is, for example, if we do not have enough trained professionals, we could substitute the trained professionals by allowing students to share their knowledge. For example, the seniors can share their knowledge to the juniors, and they could become professionals, although not trained professionals, but they could be good enough to bring up the younger generations. For the problem of not having enough equipments, for example, maybe we could downgrade a little to focus on quantity instead of quality. For example, I'm well aware of scientists in India that's making 10 cents centrifuge and 50 cents microscopes, which are being used to cure malaria in India. So I think such equipments are an example of focusing on quantity to providing more for everybody and educating more people instead of the specifics, instead of focusing on it. 2-3 scientists that's going to cure malaria. I think it's a great idea to give out more. One of the other problems that we're trying to solve is that we lack funding. Although this is a little bit out of our reach, I think we should have better allocation of our national budget and invest more in the younger generations.
Okay, so therefore we would like to conclude that research and development is essential, and for that to happen we need more educated people and of course funding. Like with more educated people we can have more critical thinkers and creative people who can come up with solutions to our problems based on the scientific way. And this hypothesize, create and change the world. Thank you.
I think every group has presented the point that I'm trying to impress on you through this exercise is that in the Buddhist philosophy, we really need to be interested in problems. We need to be interested in problem. The Buddha called it dukkha. Dukkha means problem. So his central focus is dukkha, that is problem. Then we need to train ourselves by working on problems. And to do that, one of the essential foundation is compassion. So today, you get yourself interested in our country's problem, and then you start thinking about solution, and this is all part of compassion. With this, now you're going to offer the flower, the final ritual. Please come here. Maybe the front row, you can start. You can start here. To offer flowers to the Buddha. the flowers and water, being dinner. Just 2 lines, okay, up there, and then 2 lines here. Tibet leg and Tibet leg. Here, Tibet machine, Tibet leg and Tibet leg.
Oh,
Feel blessed.
Echo. Okay.